Fulham are unbeaten in their last 5 games and currently sit 6th in the Premier League table, so let's have a look at what to expect from Man City and what they'll be up against tomorrow afternoon. After the game against Slovan Bratislava in the week, and their substitute appearances against Newcastle, for me Foden and Savinho both have to start against Fulham. We've looked so much better with them both on the pitch, especially with De Bruyne's absence. They offer that bit of creativity that we need when we are constantly coming up against teams with compact blocks without the ball. On the other side, I think Grealish will start over Doku, as he was rested midweek. But also because he has started the season much stronger than Doku and almost looks back to his best. I would assume that Kovacic will carry on playing as the number 6, replacing Rodri, he was also rested midweek. And to knit all this together, I think Bernardo will start again to help keep control of the game. This is so important because, as we'll talk about later, Fulham are incredibly threatening on the counter and we will need to limit the amount of turnovers in this game. If you want a player to get and hold on to control of the game, there's no better option than Bernardo Silva, so I think Pep will start him. In defense, I would expect the same three of Diaz, Akanji and Gvardiol to keep their place as they've all been fantastic to start the season. It makes sense to keep this consistency, especially going into a tough game against Fulham. However, the position I am unsure about is at right back. Between Rico Lewis and Kyle Walker, my preference is Rico, but whether Pep will choose him over Walker I'm not sure. I think as there is such a contrast to how both of them are playing this season, with Rico's form and his outstanding performance midweek, which has led Pep himself to say, there are no words to describe how well he is playing. And how the team seems so much more balanced when Lewis plays, it makes sense to start him. But will Pep choose Walker to perhaps combat the pace Fulham have on the counter? We'll have to see. Fulham normally drop into a 4-4-2 block after any initial pressure. Smith Rowe pushes up to the first line alongside Raúl Jimenez. They do try to stay compact and are very disciplined in their roles within this setup and are proactive, looking to apply pressure instead of passively letting their opponents build up. Usually, one wide player in this block will drop to make a back 5 while the other pushes up to press the wider players when they have the ball, which if they stick to here, could allow City to play around them fairly easily. Let's have a look at an example here. If Gvardiol has possession, Jimenez may jump on him, he passes it on to Diaz, who is pressurized by Smith Rowe, who passes to Akanji, triggering the press from Iwobi. If Iwobi doesn't react fast enough, a quick pass through to Kovacic, and then onto Rico, allows the first line of pressure to be bypassed, and City can look to create as they now have an overload in the middle. Another possibility is City using Ederson to break the lines. He could step forward and essentially act as another centre-back, as we've seen him do many times before. This will likely draw out both Jimenez and Smith Rowe, leaving Kovacic completely free centrally, meaning that again if City can find him, there is opportunity to create some really good chances. Andreas Pereira and Lukic work really hard to cover the half space when the ball is out wide, allowing the full-back to get out and close the winger down. After winning the ball, they will almost certainly counter-attack quickly and this is what makes Fulham such threatening opposition. This has always been a problem for us but this season we have been very vulnerable in transition mainly due to the change to the 3-1-6 system so this will be a challenge tomorrow and hopefully one we are up for. Fulham look to counter with either a long ball to Jimenez, who is very good when it comes to holding up the ball and then finding a runner to pass to. Or, Fulham utilise their team of fantastic ball carriers, with Adama Traoré, who City know all about from his Wolves days, as well as Smith Rowe. But most of the time it is the full-backs who get Fulham up the pitch. They are both capable of carrying the ball before playing a pass to one of the more creative players higher up the pitch. This could cause City, in particular, huge problems because if they get past the initial counter-press, they will have all of this space to drive into, as opposed to if it was say a 3-2-5 shape, where you would have two players here to stop their progress. Fulham look to build up in what is pretty much a 4-3-3 shape, as Andreas Pereira moves up alongside Smith Rowe, while Lukic stays deep as a single pivot on the edge of the box. The other week against Newcastle, they looked shaky when building from the back when up against Newcastle's man-to-man press, as they often got caught out in these wider areas, losing possession with a poor ball forward. So they eventually started going long to Raúl Jimenez a lot of the time, or there were occasions where Jimenez dropped deeper, bringing his marker with him, leaving room for both wingers to run into. So look to play these balls against Newcastle's high line. This means that the City defenders are gonna have to come out on top of their individual battles in order to prevent Fulham creating any sort of quality chances from building out from the back. When Fulham do get up the pitch, they love to use the wide areas as much as they can. When the ball is wide, the full-back will almost always offer an over or underlap, which also leaves space for players like Smith Rowe and Pereira to receive the ball on the edge of the box. But most of the time they will look for a cross into the box, aiming for Raúl Jimenez with the quality he has in the air. Against Newcastle, Jimenez quite often tried to put himself on Trippier at right back, instead of going for an aerial duel with one of the centre-backs. This could be another reason why Rico Lewis may not be chosen, as, if he aims to do this, problems will arise every time a cross comes into the box. So with all this in mind, it should be a difficult game for City, and the transition threat of Fulham will be a challenge for our new in-possession structure, but hopefully we can come away with the 3 points tomorrow afternoon.